As protests rage across Minnesota, U.S. President Donald Trump has weighed in on the killing of ICU nurse Alex Pretti, branding him an agitator and an insurrectionist. But investigators are still digging, officials are hedging, and the gap between power and accountability is widening fast. The name Alex Pretti is now at the center of a national confrontation in U.S., an intensive care unit nurse, a protester, and, according to President Donald Trump, an agitator whose own actions explain his death. That framing came after new video surfaced, footage from 11 days before Pretti was fatally shot by federal agents. Trump pointed to the video as proof. In it, Pretti is seen confronting federal immigration officers on a Minneapolis street, yelling, spitting, and kicking a vehicle. The president described the officers as calm and under control. Pretti, he said, showed abuse and anger. The implication was unmistakable. This was not an innocent man. But that video is not from the day Pretti died. It's from nearly 2 weeks earlier. On January 24, Pretti was shot and killed during a separate encounter involving Customs and Border Protection agents amid a protest. The circumstances of that shooting remain under investigation. And Pretti is not the only name fueling anger in Minnesota. Earlier this month, Renee Nicole Macklin Good, a mother of 3, was shot and killed near a protest site. 2 deaths, 2 federal shootings, 1 city on edge. Protests have now stretched for more than a month, escalating with every new development. As outrage grows, the administration's messaging has split. Trump has gone on offense, labeling Pretti an insurrectionist, but his own border czar is pulling back. Speaking at his first press conference since arriving in Minneapolis, Tom Homan refused to weigh in. "Do I have an opinion? Yeah," Homan said, "but I'm not going to share that with you." Instead, he insisted the investigation must play out. He added one line that stood out. "I don't want to see anybody die, even the people we're looking for."
Mueller Newsmax, the new video of Alex Pretti is now circulating. Your reaction to that, and do you think law enforcement could have played a role if, like, let's say Minneapolis police were able to respond to that? Have those top law enforcement officials said they'll help or do anything to help these agents who are out here?
I'm not going to comment on any of these shootings. I said from day one, I said on any of these shootings, as a career law enforcement officer, we'll let the investigation roll out, let the investigation play out, and let it go where it goes. I'm not going to come out and make any comments that I think is right, wrong. Do I have an opinion? Yeah, my personal opinion, but I'm not going to share that with you. I'm going to tell you, let the investigation play out and see where it goes. But again, the president, one of the words he said to me when I came up here, he said he didn't want to see anybody die. The less interference, the less rhetoric, the less, I have buried Border Patrol agents and I buried ICE agents throughout my career, and the saddest thing I've ever done is hand a folded flag to a wife or a child. I don't want to see anybody die, even the people we're looking for. I don't want to see anybody die. And despite what people think of Tom Homan, I say a prayer every night that everybody goes home safe. This isn't good. But I think my conversations the last 2.5 days are leading us to a safer community, letting ICE officers operate in the safety and security of a jail more than on the street. But we're going to enforce immigration law. For the people that saying we're here to surrender our authority and the mission of enforcing immigration law, you are wrong. We're going to do target enforcement operations, and we're going to prioritize the public safety threats and national security threats. That is what we're here to do.
A U.S. federal courtroom drama ignites amid national outrage. Just hours after federal agents fatally shot Alex Pretti in Minneapolis, a Minnesota judge has taken the extraordinary step of blocking the Trump administration from destroying or altering any evidence tied to the case. a move that escalates a fierce legal battle over transparency and accountability. State officials argue federal authorities have withheld key material and removed evidence from the scene, setting the stage for a Monday hearing that could reshape the federal-state fight over this deeply divisive shooting. The ruling comes after Minnesota state officials filed a lawsuit in Minnesota's U.S. District Court against officials with the Department of Homeland Security and other agencies, seeking a temporary restraining order that would prohibit federal officials from destroying evidence. The judge's order comes on the back of at least 4 different videos of the encounter, filmed by eyewitnesses and verified and analyzed by NBC News and others, run counter to some of the administration's description of events. The lawsuit alleges evidence was taken from the scene of the shooting.
Let's go around.
Judge Eric Tostrud's order includes any evidence that defendants and those working on their behalf removed from the scene, or evidence that defendants have taken into their exclusive custody, it states. The suit, filed by the State Attorney General, includes the Hennepin County Attorney's Office and the State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension as plaintiffs, and names among its defendants the leadership of several federal agencies, including the DHS. Our office has jurisdiction to review this matter for potential criminal conduct by the federal agents involved, and we will do so, Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty said in a statement announcing the lawsuit. A hearing is scheduled on the matter from Monday in Minnesota Federal Court. Video captures a confrontation between federal officers and a 37-year-old man moments leading up to a fatal shooting in Minneapolis. The shooting came amid widespread daily protests in the Twin Cities since the January 7th shooting of 37-year-old Renee Good. Homeland Security spokeswoman Tricia McLaughlin told the Associated Press in a text message that the person had a firearm with 2 magazines. The shooting came amid widespread daily protests in the Twin Cities since the January 7th shooting of 37-year-old Renee Good. The officer who fatally shot Minneapolis man during protest is an 8-year Border Patrol veteran, federal officials say. Family members say the man killed by a U.S. Border Patrol officer in Minneapolis on Saturday was an intensive care nurse at a Department of Veterans Affairs hospital who cared deeply about people and was upset by President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown in his city. Alex Pretti, 37, was an avid outdoorsman who enjoyed getting in adventures with Jewel, his beloved Catahoula leopard dog, who also recently died. He had participated in protests following the killing of Renee Good by a U.S. Immigration and Customs officer on January 7th. He cared about people deeply, and he was very upset with what was happening in Minneapolis and throughout the United States with ICE, as millions of other people are upset, said Michael Pretti, Alex's father. He thought it was terrible, kidnapping children, just grabbing people off the street. He cared about those people, and he knew it was wrong, so he did participate in protests. Pretti was a U.S. citizen born in Illinois. Like Good, court records showed he had no criminal record, and his family said he had never had any interactions with law enforcement beyond a handful of traffic tickets. In a recent conversation with their son, his parents, who live in Colorado, told him to be careful when protesting. The Department of Homeland Security said that the man was shot after he approached Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. Officials did not specify if Pretti brandished the gun. In bystander videos of the shooting that emerged soon after, Pretti is seen with a phone in his hand, but none appears to show him with a visible weapon. Family members said Pretti owned a handgun and had a permit to carry a concealed handgun in Minnesota. They said they had never known him to carry it. Minneapolis Governor Tim Walz, a Democrat, said in a social media post that he had been in contact with the White House after the shooting. He called on President Donald Trump to end the crackdown in his state. The details surrounding the shooting weren't immediately clear.
At 9:05 a.m. Central Time, the Department of Homeland Security law enforcement officials and officers were conducting targeted operations in Minneapolis against an illegal alien whose criminal history included domestic assault with intentionally inflicting bodily harm, disorderly conduct, and driving without a valid license. An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. Medics were on the scene immediately and attempted to deliver medical aid to the subject, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds. He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement. About hundreds of protesters then showed up at the scene. They began to obstruct and to assault law enforcement officers. We saw objects being thrown at them, including ice and other objects, and a rampant assault began, and even an HSI officer agent's finger was bitten off. Crowd control measures were deployed to bring safety to the public and to law enforcement at the scene. And once again, I want to remind everybody that this situation and this tragedy did not have to happen. This individual showed up to impede a law enforcement operation and assaulted our officers. They responded according to their training and took action to defend the officer's life and those of the public around him. And I don't know of any peaceful protester that shows up with a gun and ammunition rather than a sign. This is a violent riot when you have someone showing up with weapons and are using them to assault law enforcement officers.
Our message is really clear and straightforward. We need ICE out of Minnesota. They are not making us more safe. As the tragic killing this morning, as people saw it viscerally on that video, shows us they are making us less safe. And finally, we call on our Republican colleagues to stand with us. I know they know what's going on here because it's happening in their own districts. Right now, we are focused on getting ICE out of the state. And of course, we will use every lever that we have. But I do remind people that Donald Trump runs the White House. And sadly, because to date we have not seen the Republican members of Congress standing up, he also seems to run the Congress.
The city of Minneapolis is filing a declaration after today's shooting to encourage the judge to rule on a temporary restraining order on Monday that would grant us immediate relief and would help stop this operation that has been so harmful to the city of Minneapolis. The state of Minnesota has resulted in multiple shootings and tragic deaths. I have formally requested assistance from the National Guard to support the limited number of officers that we have in the Minneapolis Police Department. We have around 600 officers in total. Days off have been canceled. Our incredible Minneapolis police officers have been working tirelessly to do their day-to-day work, and simultaneously they are put in the middle of these chaotic situations. We will not be able to do this on our own, and so we are getting assistance from both mutual aid jurisdictions as well as the request to the governor for the National Guard, and we're appreciative of the assistance. Our officers are tired. Our businesses are tired, and this additional support is necessary. And again, the chaos that we are seeing is caused directly by ICE, Border Control, and this federal administration.